freedom,
family,
world unity,
all these things and more will be discussed on this podcast.
real stories, real people, real debates. On this podcast, we like to express our freedoms and talk about anything and everything goes.
Like freedom, family is important to us, and anybody that is listening, watching, or coming on the show as a guest star are all considered part of the greatest family to ever bless the solar system, the human race. No matter who you are, where you come from, you will always have a voice here on this podcast.
We like to flex our First Amendment, where all speeches and opinions are accepted for the right of freedom of speech. We have a saying we like to live by. Live life with eyes wide open. Being open-minded leads to true understanding of the world as it really is. Please, come, join us, and enjoy this experience as we embark on this journey of truth as we dismantle the subjective truth. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm your co-host, Victoria.
And you're experiencing High Consciousness.
Disclaimer. Any and all information on topics presented are to the best of all who is present in each episode's knowledge. The goal of this podcast is to bring people together and set the example we all wish to see in our everyday lives. Whether it's home life, education, politics, history, business, etc. Any and all subjects can and will be talked and peacefully debated about on this podcast. On debate episodes, there will be a set rules of debate that hosts and guests alike must follow. We ask that you, the audience, like we ask of our guests, in the comments to please try to keep the language as clean as possible. We are a podcast for entertainment as well as educational purposes. Here we are all equal no matter what race, age, or gender. Thank you, and enjoy the show. Hi, y'all,
And welcome back
to another episode of
High Consciousness. I'm your host, Nick.
I'm your co-host, Victoria.
And we are High
Consciousness. Hi, y'all. Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday. So, guess what that means? More fun facts about America!
Woo!
And today's topics, they're going to be read by our lovely host, Nick. I'm going to read the second one, but the first and the third, he's going to cover today. Going to switch it up a little bit.
So, fun fact number 1. What is the difference between the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence? You'd be surprised how many people mix these up. Everyone from presidents to political pundits have referenced the wrong documents in their speeches. The differences are vast and important. Let's take a look. The Declaration of Independence. It's about 1,300 words long. Begins with...
I'm sorry, but our editor's just over there like, over there, like, Frankie is just, Frankie's trying to be quiet about it, but I just see their facial expressions. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Keep that in. Keep that in the footage.
Are you declaring your
I'm
independence?
doing the Joker smile right now because I can't stop smiling.
I mean, that's pretty funny that even, like, politicians and political pundits have, gotten this wrong. Gotten these two confused.
Yes. But let's take a look at the
That's
difference.
Huh.
Let's take a look at the difference.
I'm sorry, am I boring you?
No. No. I'm tired.
Tired of my crap?
No. No, not yet.
I love you.
Love you too. The Declaration of Independence is about 1,300 words long. Begins with, when the course of human events separated the 13 original colonies from the control of Great Britain. Does not govern the American people, though its ideals, notably the concept of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, are embraced by citizens as an expression of quintessentially American values. Quintessentially? Quintessentially.
I know, that's a hard word.
Quintessentially American values. Was signed by 56 men beginning on August 2nd, 1776, and possibly not signed by the last signer until 1781.
Signer.
Yes, signer.
You said seigneur.
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 Right here.
Darker, darker.
The U.S. Constitution is about 7,500 words long.
7,500.
Yep. Including 27 amendments. Begins with the words, "We the people," governs Americans, and provides for the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government. It's a document that presidents, soldiers, government officials, and new American citizens must swear to uphold and protect. Was signed by 39 men on September 17, 1787, and later ratified or accepted by all 13 states.
Well, there it is. And was that it for that fun fact?
It was.
It was. All right. So, fun fact number 2 on this segment. It is, what does the Bill of Rights allow me to do? The first 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution are known as the Bill of Rights. They were ratified for or accepted, that's what ratified means, accepted, by the states in 1791, shortly after the first Congress went into business. These days, whenever Americans argue about the Constitution, it seems what they're really arguing about is the Bill of Rights. Here's what that document is all about. The First Amendment is freedom of expression. This amendment includes the freedom of religion, speech, and the press. It gives the people the right to assemble peaceably and to petition the government to address grievances. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. Of course, that's that's our law that says, hey, we got the right to carry a gun and be a civilized militia. That's just the quick definition of it, but here you go. This amendment has always been controversial because the Founding Fathers prefaced the right by mentioning in its connection with militias. In colonial days, civilian men were expected to keep guns and be available to defend their communities as part of a militia. In 2008, the Supreme Court ruled that this amendment did indeed give individuals not connected to a militia the right to keep guns. Yep. The Third Amendment, the quartering of troops. Much of the resentment American colonists felt toward the British troops grew out of being forced to pay for the soldiers' room and board or give up room in their homes to shelter them. Which, as we know from the Patriot, that kind of stuff was, rough. I mean, if you even, tried to resist those officers and do something to them, they just kill you right on sight and then just overtake your home, period. And take your slaves, too. And it was not good. We don't want these soldiers here, the colonists argued, so why should we be forced to house them? This amendment, which protects Americans from being forced to house troops during peacetime, has also been interpreted as granting Americans a right to privacy and recognizing that your home is your castle. That's right. Until, a king is the king of his castle till the queen arrives. The Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizures. Simply put, the government must issue a specific warrant before it can just enter your home and search your belongings for evidence of a crime, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
The Fifth Amendment, due process of law. Yes, this amendment gives you the right to remain silent. Or rather, the right not to be forced to bear witness against yourself, which means, shut up and don't get yourself in trouble, because anything you say and do in that moment of being arrested, it will be used against you in the court of law. That whole Miranda rights thing that we all know. But it also says you can't be forced to stand for trial for a crime unless a jury indicts you first. You can't be tried twice for the same crime. That's called double jeopardy. You can't be jailed, executed, or deprived of your property without due process of law, and the government cannot seize your property for public use, building highways, parks, etc., without compensating you fairly. That's interesting. The Sixth Amendment, the right to a fair trial. You have the right to a speedy and public trial by a jury of your peers. You have the right to know what you're being charged with, to confront the witnesses against you, and to subpoena witnesses to have an attorney. and to have an attorney. The Seventh Amendment, trial by jury in civil cases. The Founding Fathers certainly were serious about trial by jury because this is the third time they mention it in the Bill of Rights. This time, however, the right to have a jury extends to civil cases, those in which two people are suing each other. This amendment says judges cannot toss out the jury's verdict unless they follow specific procedures. What are those specific procedures, I wonder? Something we'll have to do a little deep dive into one day. The Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. This amendment protects the rights of prisoners. They can't be hit with excessive bails or fines, and cruel and unusual punishments cannot be inflicted upon them. This last phrase remains controversial as Americans struggle with the constitutionality of executing people for their crimes. The Ninth Amendment, unenumerated rights. This may not sound like the sexiest amendment. Did it really have to say the sexiest amendment? It's not the sexiest, like, really? But it is a catch-all. Okay. The framers were saying that people of the United States retain certain rights even if they are not spelled out in the Constitution. Over the years, this awkward phrasing has been taken to mean such things as the right to privacy, the right to go where you want, and so on. Some experts call it the Forgotten Amendment. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, I'd say that's a Forgotten Amendment because that really isn't at the certain... That's not at the front of my brain with the Bill of Rights. I know just about the rest of the
Yeah,
nine.
but now you know what the bill is that keeps your privacy.
Yeah, it's the Ninth Amendment. It keeps your privacy. And the 10th Amendment, last but not least, on this second segment. This amendment says that any powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited by the Constitution are reserved to the states or to the people. Us, the people. Not those government-elected knuckleheads that make all the money sitting in government. Us, the little guys. We got the right to say so. So, that is the end of my little segment there. And so we're going to hop into the third one.
About why we pay taxes, why we have income tax to the government.
Yep. Why do we pay income tax? Let's hear it.
Because simple. It's real simple. Because the Constitution allows the government to collect it.
That it does. And
Sort
we
of.
do go over that in the Northwest Ordinance, Part 1, which we are going to be doing Part 2 here soon. We're probably going to finish this little book here, and then we'll get right back to our original stuff.
Sort of. In the days before the Constitution was drafted, the fledgling nation was governed by a document called the Articles of Confederation, which did not give the federal government the power to tax.
Nope.
If the feds needed money, they had to ask the states nicely.
Yep.
And maybe, just maybe, the states would send them a fraction of the requested amount.
But of course, like the last amendment, it says it has to be, according to the people, the states.
American citizens like the citizens because no one likes to pay taxes. But without taxes, the nation was in trouble. For example, the government was unable to raise an army or a navy, and the country was vulnerable to attacks from the British, French, and Spanish, who still maintained forts in or near the United States.
British, Spanish, and the French. Oh boy. That's some big enemies we had back in the day.
No, the French were our friends, though. When they wrote the Constitution, the framers specially gave Congress the power to tax and spend. They just didn't give them the right to tax people's incomes. If Congress levied a tax, it had to be levied across the board on all citizens throughout a state. They couldn't single out one person and demand payment just from him. Then came a war. To pay for the Civil War, the feds instituted a temporary 3% tax on the income of the nation's richest Americans. This was hardly popular, but once Uncle Sam got a taste, he couldn't go back. He tried it again in 1894. In 1895, the Supreme Court slapped Uncle Sam, saying that if the government wanted to tax a person's individual property, it had to do so in the time-honored way. Across the board through the states, this was impossible to do, so the feds dropped the issue. Until, in 1913, the
World
feds and
War
states ratified the 16th Amendment, which gave Congress the rights to tax personal income tax. Through the amendment has been challenged by tax protesters, it remains in effect. It is the reason the Internal Revenue Service exists, aka the IRS, and the reasons for the annual pain Americans feel emanating from their checkbooks.
Yep, World War One. But that is all for today, y'all. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you enjoyed the information that we shared with you. And always remember to live life with eyes wide open. And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, y'all.